It's certainly possible that this upcoming presidential election will get resolved in the courts. As we previewed earlier, the election-related challenges are piling up, especially in key swing states. And on this new issue, the election cycle, this go around, what happens when a billionaire offers unregistered voters the chance to win $1 million if they register to vote? Some believe it could run afoul of federal laws prohibiting paying someone to vote, but it skirts the line. Let's bring in a friend of the show and former D.C. federal prosecutor David Katz. David, thank you for joining us. What is your take on Elon Musk's plan here and the DOJ letter saying this may be an issue with federal election law? Do you think he's in trouble?
I think Musk is on thin ice. I think he's going to retreat from this position and desist. I know that this morning it's been reported that he gave out another $1 million to two people, but he got a letter from the career prosecutors at the Department of Justice saying that this is unacceptable. And they've issued this kind of admonition years ago. And the other person that they issued it to said it was unconstitutional and complained, but ended up desisting. Because, you know, Musk has enough problems in life. He doesn't need the specter of criminal prosecution. And this is clearly criminal, in my opinion, because he's trying to do something indirectly that he knows he can't do directly. As you said, you can't pay people to register. And by having a competition that's only open to registered voters and only in the 7 swing states, number one, he's made his knowledge clear and he's made his intent clear. I think he'll desist from doing this in the next day or two.
Given the Supreme Court's recent rulings and our general understanding now of campaign finance laws, there just seems to be a little bit more of an open door here for direct money to certain things involved in a campaign. So why would it be important to kind of block this kind of behavior, given the general understanding that billionaires also contribute greatly throughout the campaign infrastructure?
Well, you can't buy elections and you can't buy votes. And we have people who, of course, try to influence elections and they put a lot of money into it. We've had the issue of dark money, too, undisclosed contributions after Citizens United. But still, there are these rules. And I think for someone like Musk, his lawyers are telling him, you got to obey the rules. You don't need to take the risk of being prosecuted. It just doesn't make any sense.
What is your sense of these challenges that we're seeing pop up, particularly Republican-led challenges? We just talked about the ones going after overseas voters who have never lived in the swing states, but they are, for example, children of military members who once resided in the states. The Republicans were trying to block them from voting. That didn't work. We're seeing challenges like that in swing states, in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. And we're going to continue to see more in the run-up to November. Do you think that this election is ultimately going to get decided in the courts?
I don't think this is going to be another Bush v. Gore. I don't think this is one where all we're going to remember is that the election was won 5-4 in the Supreme Court. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think most of these challenges are going to be rapidly denied. You remember that in 2020, with all the challenges, 60 out of 60 were turned down, including by Trump-appointed judges. And since then, they've done a lot of things to make the elections even clearer, the rules even more well-developed. The computers are working very well. You know, people are talking about hand counts. Hand counts not only introduce delay, but they introduce a lot of error. The computers are working very well. All those canards about how the computers didn't work in 2020 were also disproven. They were sued over. And now I've listened to people like the Secretary of State Raffensperger down there in Georgia. And he says that they're not going to have those long lines that we saw, where especially in minority neighborhoods, people were waiting around for hours and hours. And of course, the voting by mail now has been much more accepted and much more well organized. One last point on this. A couple of states in the swing states don't allow the count and the opening of the ballots by mail to start until Election Day. And that's what delays the results. That's why we don't know the night of the election who won. And I don't know it this time.
David, I want to ask you quickly at the end here. We just have a few seconds, but you've been in the Department of Justice, and no matter who's in power, they send attorneys to prepare for Election Day. There are people on the ground from the Department of Justice in key areas across the country. What's the department doing right now? And it matters not which party is in power, but to prepare for Election Day and get ready for these challenges.
Well, you know, Adam Schiff and I were in the Reagan administration, which just shows you that people are trying to do their duty in there. Despite their personal politics, they're trying to do an impartial, fair job that will give honor to patriotism, to what we believe our country should be about, the rule of law and fairness. And I think that that's what they're doing right now. And that's why I think that most of these matters are going to work out. But, you know, there is a Supreme Court precedent that says that you're not supposed to make changes to election laws within 4 months of the election.
Right.
So a lot of these challenges are going to be thrown out because they've been filed too late. They're untimely, whether they're right or wrong on the merits. And all the supposed illegals who are voting, the numbers don't back it up. They don't back it up now, and they didn't back it up in 2020 that illegals are voting in federal elections.
We've talked a lot about on the show that those cases didn't have standing. Our audience knows exactly what standing is. David Katz, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure.